And remember, Woody Wilson is all about you and not about the rich business owner. So his plan is to get rid of the tariff. Now, when you have the tariff, remember, it jacks the price up and that hurts you. It helps the business owner. That's great for them, but that's bad for you. And Woodrow Wilson wants to help the consumer. So he gets rid of the tariff. He gets rid of that high price, back to $5 shoes. Too bad. Sorry, rich business owner. You're just going to have to find a way to lower the costs to compete. You're going to have to find a way to compete on your own and not be protected by the government. Imagine that. Is that so bad that our businesses, our USA businesses, must find a way to compete with other countries and they shouldn't be given handouts by the government? No, it's up to you. Maybe it's impossible for them to compete. By the way, you now have more money in your pocket, a whole $2.50. Well, gee whiz. But that adds up. That means something. You would much rather keep the money than this guy have the money. That's why you get rid of tariffs. That's why Woodrow Wilson proposed that. He wants to stop trusts. They're also known as monopolies. Again, it's all about protecting the consumer. Doesn't care about the business owner, the property owners. So in this example, you got Jane, you got Wanda, you got JoJo Siwa. I didn't know she was into real estate. I guess she is. She's in everything. Jane, Wanda, and JoJo, you've got all these different competing hotels. They all want your money, and they're trying to convince you, come stay at my hotel. Come stay at my hotel. Well, look. In this world, all these are 4-star hotels. They're all perfect. They're all great. So, of course, you're going to go with Wanda's hotel. You want to stay at Wanda's place because it's cheaper. Well, what happens if there's a monopoly? What is a monopoly? A monopoly is where one person owns all of the goods or services. And when they own everything, and that is all the competition is taken out, like right here before. The reason why Wanda's charging less is because she needs to convince you to come to her place. She's competing against Jane and JoJo, and the best way to get you into her hotel is lower the price. And that competition between these has driven the price down. Now there's no longer competition. It's Jane, it's Jane, it's Jane. Jane's not competing against anyone. Jane doesn't have to lower her prices for anyone else. And so what Jane does is it's $300, $300, $300. Oh, you don't like that price? Oh, you don't like my $300 hotel price? Then fine, go find somewhere else. Oh, wait, there isn't anywhere else. You don't have any options. You got to stay here. You got to stay here. Or you're out sleeping in the cold. Go ahead, sleep on the cold. See how that street works out. I'm sure. I hear it gets cold at night, and we've got a rat problem in this city. So you probably want to spend the $300, and that's what you can do if you're able to create a monopoly. You control all of one product. That's what the game Monopoly works. Remember, if you get a hotel here, and you get a hotel here, and then finally you get this property, you can start jacking up the prices. If you only own one of them, you can't do anything. But once you own all three in monopoly, the price goes up because you have a monopoly. You have cornered that market. If someone wants to stay somewhere, they've got to pay whatever you tell them to pay. And if they aren't willing, then they don't stay. There isn't any competition. Well, Woodrow Wilson says that's bad. I got to stop this because remember, he's about protecting the consumer. So he creates the Federal Trade Commission. Federal Trade Commission. And trade is a fancy, that's not even a fancy word. It's a word we use for business, right? Have you ever traded something with someone? You're trading a pair of shoes for another pair of shoes. You trade shoes for a video game. You are trading. That's a transaction. That's business. You do that in real life. When you buy goods, you are trading your dollar bills for a pack of Skittles. That's a trade. They say, we will give you a pack of Skittles and you will give us a dollar bill. That is a trade. So the Federal Trade Commission, and a commission is just a name for an organization. So federal means the entire U.S. has a group or a commission that will monitor trade or monitor giving dollars for stuff and giving stuff for dollars or trading stuff. Their job is basically to regulate business between businesses and between you and businesses. And so the Federal Trade Commission says we have to protect consumers. We have to prevent monopolies. This is not good. Jane is hurting the consumer. So they break it up and they say, look, you got to get rid of the hotel. You got to sell it to somebody else. You're not allowed, Jane. Jane cannot own every hotel in Hotel City. And eventually we have more people. JoJo gets a hotel. Wanda gets a hotel. Now we have competition. They want to be the best. And the way to get most people into your hotel is lower your prices. You got competition again, and everybody is going to JoJo's hotel. Triple wall privilege plan in the high tariffs. We talked about it. Remember, we talked about that. And we talked about stopping monopolies. It's all about protecting the consumer. Police. And then another example for protecting consumers. So we got to prevent monopolies. We also want to prevent fraud. Again, federal, the U.S., a commission, a group, a federal group is going to regulate trade. Remember, trading goods back and forth, selling. They want to protect you so that businesses are not cheating you. This happens today. And here's a famous example from your lifetime. Do you remember these shape-up shoes? They still exist. You can still buy them. But when they came out, Skechers made the claim that, now these are all the claims. So Skechers, when they were selling you or trading you these shoes, told you that they would improve your posture. Oh, that sounds great. Improves blood circulation. Oh, tell me more. Tighten my abs? What? I got to get these shoes. Straighten my back. Oh, no. Firms my buttocks muscles. Oh, well, now you got me. I need a toned butt. I need firm buttocks muscles. And reduces cellulite. Oh man, my cottage cheese legs are out. And I'm going to look like a supermodel. All I got to do is buy a pair of shape-ups in my life. Look, does this sound ridiculous? Does this sound like crazy that they are going to promise you that these shoes are going to do all of these things? Do they cure cancer too? Why stop there? Why not give me a job to do this job? They make me super fast. Can I dunk in these shoes? This is a preposterous claim. This is ridiculous to promise this. Now, you can say maybe it helps tone your butt muscles and it might help your posture, but they were out there saying, look, this thing's going to change you, rock and roll or roll and rock. That's what they said. And people bought these shoes and thought, man, everything is going to work out. This is going to turn my life around. And the reality is, it's a lie. It's not true. Skechers, you cannot say that. You cannot make that bold of a claim unless you have evidence or research that proves it. Show us the scientific studies that show that these shoes are making people's booties look good. Please provide that evidence. Show me the evidence that has given all these dudes six-pack abs. Well, they couldn't because it didn't happen. And so Skechers was forced to give the money back to anyone that bought these shoes. That is what, now, obviously Woodrow Wilson died many years ago. He wasn't a part of this incident, but the government idea and concept that he promoted and created eventually led to this. He created the Federal Trade Commission. They've done many things over the last 100 years of how they've protected consumers. This is an example from your lifetime to help you understand how the government can be involved in making sure that business is fair and that we protect consumers. Again, I'm a big supporter of laissez-faire economy, laissez-faire economics, and hands-off, and the government does not need to be involved. But this is a good example of how the government can be involved and make sure that people are not getting cheated, people are not getting lied to. And it's a good example of, yeah, maybe we do need the government. Now, devil's advocate, my point of view is you are an idiot if you believed this. And I think a lot of people are with me. Maybe that's probably a little harsh, and I probably shouldn't say that, but whatever. YouTube's going to have to blame me. Let's not say idiot. That's probably too offensive. Let's just say you are a bad consumer if you believed this. If you need the government to step in to tell you that these are not magic shoes and they will not allow you to fly, they will not magically turn your body around, then we've got a whole bunch of other problems. I don't believe we need the government to get involved in this, to protect people because they bought dumb shoes. Now, there are other examples where, like in terms of a medicine, where if a medicine, they say like this medicine is going to cure a disease and it doesn't and you die, then yeah, we probably need the government to get involved in that. But again, a lot of foolish, ridiculous claims are made by businesses. A lot of the stuff that they try to sell you is ridiculous. And I don't know if we need the government to be in loco parentis or act like a parent because we are too silly and we are not using our brains. Maybe we should just use our brains and realize, you know how you get firm buttocks you work out more and you eat better and you take care of yourself. There isn't a shortcut to health. Otherwise, we would all be in great shape if it were all this easy. Or, of course, you can just have a big government step in. Last, the government needs to be involved in the nation's financial health. Basically, the money and the economy. Recessions, depressions, no more panics. He thinks the government needs to play a big role regulating business or regulating banks to regulate the amount of money that's in the economy, so make sure that it's steady and that people have what they need. If you look at the 19th century, we talked about the Panic of 1893 in videos prior to this one, but there have been plenty of panics throughout America. I mean, it's very routine, very normal for these panics to occur. And in most of the time, these were bank failures, financial issues, bank failures. Almost always. It always has to do with the supply of money in the economy, either being too high or being too low. A lot of times it's a too low situation. And what Woodrow Wilson is going to propose is we need the government, not individual private banks. The government needs to regulate the amount of money in the economy so that we can prevent all these panics, steady flow of economy, and that will lead to the economy growing. I need to erase all that from the screen so that I can show what I want to show. All right. So typically the economy, it says income or GDP, basically just imagine that that's money, good money. People have money to spend, things are getting bought and sold. Typically what happens over time, the economy goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. That is completely natural. These cycles happen. That's why this stuff maybe isn't that crazy. These panic probably is an exaggerated word, but it's going to happen. There's good times, there's bad times. We just experienced a bad time about 10 years ago, and now we are on upswing again. The plan then is that what we should do is try to reduce the bad times and lengthen the good times. That is the ultimate goal of the government. Before, the banks, sure, they kind of would like that to happen, but they also realize that these things are naturally going to happen. What the government says is we need to be more active to maybe stabilize this. We want to try to create constant growth. But even if when we're growing, we're going up and going down, we want to make sure that our times that we go down are less and the times that we go up are longer. That's very hard to do with a bunch of different banks across the country that are controlling the money supply. All the different banks are doing their own thing, lending money, not lending money. It's up to them. Woodrow Wilson says we need to have control over this. We need the government to put the banks under control of the government. As we close up real quick, the idea again is that a low supply of money is good because it increases the value of money. And this is going to be mainly for the next video, but if the government prints way too much money, or if the individual banks lend out too much money or print out too much money, that then causes the value of the money to go down. I'm going to talk more about this. We've talked about inflation in videos before, and we will talk about them again. And that's going to be the crux of the next conversation in terms of the Federal Reserve, which is what we're going to talk about, and that they will be created by Woodrow Wilson to control the supply of money to prevent panics. We want steady growth. And when we do have a decline, we want it to be quick, get it over with, and go back to growing. And we can do that if we control the supply of money. We don't get out of hand with the supply of money. We want the value to be high. We do not want the value to be low. So the Federal Reserve will be created. We're going to talk more about this in the next video. It's called the Fed. It is the banker's bank. This is where the banks go to get money. You go to the bank to get money. The banks go to the Fed. It is the U.S. government's bank. It is the new version of the national bank that was killed off by Andrew Jackson in the 1830s, the second national bank. we will not have one for the longest time. Now we go back to the Federal Reserve. You can say a lot of things about the Federal Reserve. There's a lot of people who really, really despise the Federal Reserve because the Federal Reserve is not really controlled by the government. It's like this separate entity controlled by private investors. But I'm not going to go into that. You can look in your study guide and you can check out online and find out a lot of more information about the Federal Reserve. I'm going to stick to the APUS guidelines. This is how they manage money in the economy, created by Woodrow Wilson. So we will talk more about inflation in the Fed in the next video, but we did talk about Woodrow Wilson's ways of protecting the economy. We talked about the monopolies. I'm just going to put monop. We talked about the FTC, protecting the consumers. And we also talked about ending tariffs. That was his triple wall of privilege, all about, basically about protecting the people. And these are progressive ideas. These are new ideas. The monopolies have been around had a lot of power. So it was kind of revolutionary to get rid of the power from big business. Again, to help the people was not necessarily the norm or normal, and to ban tariffs. Although that may not be a progressive idea. This is an idea that comes and goes throughout time.